Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is telling the world that NATO has declared war on Russia. You cannot blame him though. He is old. Just look at him. And I'm guessing he's getting things confused. Because last I checked, it was Russian tanks that rolled into Ukraine. And if NATO soldiers were actually part of this war, Russian army would be pushed back to Siberia. Now all the while Lavrov is threatening NATO, Russian fighter jets are trying to fly into Alaska. So let's get into all that in this video, starting of course with what exactly did Lavrov say. Let's listen in, the good old Russian lies.
Working on the basis of principles enshrined in the UN Charter, taken in full comprehensively with due regard how they're interrelated, is a way of laying the groundwork for the progressive development of all states without exception, large and small. Refusing to comply with the Charter's principles is an expression of neocolonial ambitions, leading to the rise of global instability, multiplication of regional conflicts. A key example of this is the Ukraine crisis, which was provoked by the collective West. And we also, of course, know the history of colonialism in Africa, where borders were drawn up arbitrarily without any concern for nationality confession. And back to Ukraine, NATO and the EU have basically declared war on my country and are partaking it directly.
Now all the while Lavrov was saying that, the Russian Ministry of Defense published footage of Russian jets trying to get into Alaska. Luckily, US jets were scrambled and they were able to intercept the Russian jets and push them back. Now, after some research, I realized this is nothing new. Russia has been doing this almost every other week. What is new is the fact that the Russian ministry is now publishing footage of this, trying to fearmonger to the Western citizens. And that's just the common Russian tactic. Whenever they are getting pushed back on the front lines, whenever it feels like Russia is losing, they want to increase the rhetoric that Russia can destroy the world. And then of course, Russia has the obvious excuse. They didn't start this war was launched against them by NATO. Now this is where I want to show you guys this clip that I have shown you guys 1,000 times. When Lavrov was at the G20 summit last year, he told the audience that, hey, this war was launched against us, and everyone started laughing so hard that Lavrov didn't know what to say. Let's watch this.
You know, the war which we are trying to stop and which was launched against us using Ukrainian people, of course it influenced the policy of Russia, including energy policy, and the blunt way to describe what is the change, what changed, we would not anymore rely on any partners in the West.
Now, the whole Lavrov speech at the UN was focused on how Russia is defending the UN Charter, the UN founding document that every country agrees to when they join UN. But I don't think he actually ever read the document, because I want to show you guys something and you tell me if you think Russia ever read this. So this is the UN Charter that every member is supposed to follow and uphold. And here's the first article, the first point, that every member has to maintain international peace and security. That's literally the first line in the contract you sign when you join UN. And Lavrov keeps bringing up this charter without actually reading it. This is exactly why other leaders don't take Lavrov seriously. And then when they say something that's just a bit too close to home, we have Russian media getting extremely mad about Russian diplomats getting disrespected. That's exactly what happened yesterday. This is what the NATO Secretary General said about Lavrov, and the Russian media was losing their mind. Listen to it yourself.
Lavrov, I mean, he is foreign minister of Russia, I think, since the birth of Jesus Christ. And since then, anything useful came out of his mouth. So let's not pay too much attention to Mr. Lavrov.
That was great to hear. Initially, when I saw that, I thought that was AI. But I double-checked and triple-checked, and that actually happened. And I'm glad it did. Now, luckily for Russian media, they didn't have much time to be mad about this. They have a lot more things to worry about than just a comment from the NATO Secretary General. You see, the President of the United States is now publicly calling Russia a paper tiger. That's a hard thing to ignore even for Vladimir Putin. Now, Kremlin is extremely pissed about this because we have every single Kremlin official coming out publicly making a statement about what President Trump said. So first, I want to show you guys exactly what he said, and then we can get into the statements from the Kremlin.
Settle, but I'm very disappointed in Putin. And he's been fighting hard, he's been fighting long, and they lost millions, they lost like 1 million soldiers. And you know, with all of the heavy bombardment over the last 2 weeks, they've gained almost no land. Think of that. They've gained almost no land. And I'm not going to ever call anybody a paper tiger, but Russia spent millions and millions of dollars in bombs, missiles, ammunition, and lives, their lives, and they've gained virtually no land. I think it's time to stop, I really do.
Now, when this happened, literally the whole world was watching. And again, I know the world already watches US politics all the time. We're the major game in town. But this week specifically, the UN General Assembly was taking place in New York, and that means everyone was paying attention to what's happening in the US. And this was the message President Trump was sending about Russia. So of course, Putin is not happy. But it wasn't Putin who responded to this message. It was the former Russian president and current deputy of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, who responded. And this is what he said. Something is going on in New York. The bandit clown has coke and tremor, and the Pole has snooze in his mouth. And Trump has again entered an alternative reality and issued a batch of political spells on the topic of how weak Russia is. After the meeting with the clowns from Kyiv and Paris, he published a vivid post. There is the final victory of Kyiv, the return to the previous borders, the failed military economy of Russia, queues of gasoline, and the paper tiger. In this reality, everything is different. Kyiv wins, Russia is torn to shreds, the economy of Ukraine confidently grows thanks to its resources. In this reality, Trump's predecessors, Obama and Biden, have long happily lived. But Trump is not like that. I have no doubt he will return. He always returns. Probably in a couple of days, he will offer Green Pianist to sign a surrender, or fly to Mars with Musk, whom he pardoned, or do something else very important that will allow him to claim the Nobel Prize. The main thing is to frequently and radically change your point of view on various issues, and everything will be fine. This is the essence of successful state governance through social networks. Basically, this was Medvedev writing a whole essay to tell the world how much he doesn't care about what President Trump is saying. Because that's exactly what a person who doesn't care would do. Spend hours drinking vodka and typing up a message, responding to the message you don't care about apparently. But you see, the thing is, it wasn't just Medvedev who responded. Russia had to bring out everyone. So we also have a statement from Putin's spokesperson, Peskov, who made the stupidest statement I have ever seen an official make. According to Peskov, Russia is not a tiger, but a bear. And there are no pepper bears, so technically, Trump is wrong. This is high school level debate. Well, actually, this is not even high school. This is elementary level debate that Russia is pulling out, all the while their army is getting pushed back and their economy is going to shit. We can clearly see how much of a superpower Russia truly is. The comments President Trump made clearly hit a nerve, and the response has not been good. The best part of all this, NATO leaders are doubling down. Everyone's laughing at the way Russia is responding and pointing out that clearly this is something that's hitting too close to home. This is what the NATO Secretary General said about the Russian response.
But I think President Trump hit it exactly as he should have by mentioning the paper tiger. And then the Russians coming back yesterday the whole day saying, no, we're not a paper tiger. We are a bear. Hey, when you see a bear, you know you see a bear.
Right, but that's an
an
offensive posture.
Yeah, but it means that Russia is insecure and that President Trump was able to hit a nerve, probably at the highest echelons of the Kremlin.
Okay.
And why is this? Because if I was a student of history, as I am, and Putin is also a student of history, and he loves his country and is proud of that history, I would not be in a good place. He's lost 1 million people now, or seriously wounded in this war. He is now losing in 1 month what the Soviets lost in 10 years in Afghanistan, only in 1 month. So this is what's happening at the moment, and he is not making the progress he wants. He has these long lines waiting for the gasoline stations to fill up the cars with gasoline because the Ukrainians are successful in hitting the oil refineries in Russia. So he's not in a good place, and I think President Trump feels that, and he's putting pressure on Putin. Come to the table.
And again, I do have to make a dedicated video on this topic. But the conversation should not be about Putin sacrificing Russian soldiers to try to gain some ground. In fact, last month, the Russian army was pushed back. They were pushed back very little bit, but at the end of the day, the fact is that Putin is losing thousands of soldiers to lose ground. He's coming out negative every single month. All the while, the Russian government has to raise the bonuses that they're offering to new recruits so they have enough cannon fodder for the front lines. Things are not good for Russia, and the Ukrainian strikes inside the Russian heartland is only making it worse. Then we have the statement President Zelensky made today, and this was a very direct threat to every single Russian officials who are ordering the killing of Ukrainian citizens. Let's listen to what this warning was.
If we will have such long distance weapon from the United States, we will use it. Against Moscow, we are not terrorists. Even our people, for today, they hate Russians because they began the war and they killed us. But all our people understand that we don't need to attack civilians.
And they attacked the Prime Minister's office.
Yeah, they attacked.
So if, what would you tell somebody who works at the Kremlin today? Would you tell him to make sure he knows where the nearest bomb shelter is?
First of all, they have to know where their bomb shelters are. If they will not stop the war, they will need it in any case.
Well, guess what? We had our good old pal Dmitry Medvedev responding again to this statement. And this is what he said. The Kyiv drug addict said the Kremlin should know where a bomb shelter is so its occupants can hide when he uses long-range American weapons. What the freak needs to know is that Russia can use weapons too that a bomb shelter will not protect against. And Americans should also keep this in mind. I think Medvedev is forgetting that the last time he threatened America with nuclear weapons, President Trump put a nuclear-armed submarine at Russia's coast. And then Kremlin officials, including Peskov, had to come out and tell the world publicly that Medvedev has no real power inside Russia. He's just some drunk guy who was friends with Putin, so he got to play pretend president for 4 years, while Putin was busy changing the constitution of the Russian Federation. And now, Medvedev has no important things to do, so he's just tweeting whenever he drinks too much. But on a serious note, did you guys notice that Putin is not responding to any of this? And it's always Medvedev or Peskov or someone else who's sending the message on his behalf. Well, this is something we discussed with none other than Jason J. Smart when he was on our podcast just a few weeks back. And this is how he explained why everyone responds but Putin. Let's listen in.
And there's a very simple reason for that. Is that in the Russian, and anyone who's ever trying to understand Russia the rest of your life, notice this. Keep an eye on this. Russia has a couple different categories. The top category is, let's say, Putin. Putin never makes comments like, we'll start World War III. No, he sort of implies things sometimes, and that's really extreme. But what he'll never do, and never does, he'll never say something like, Trump or Biden is an idiot, or they don't know what they're doing. Never. Why is that? Putin's role is to always look like he's above the fray. Keep in mind, it's a dictatorship. Everybody has roles. It's not like they just choose to do whatever. That's his role. He looks like he's above the fray. He's a serious diplomat. He's etc. But those who are below him have to be the attack dogs. And that's why you have people like Medvedev, like the popular press, which is Kremlin-backed or Kremlin-controlled, which comes out with these really extreme propaganda statements about, we could start World War III, we're going to nuke New York and Washington and Paris and Berlin. They're not going to do any of that. But they know that they have to project strength because the Russian senior leadership never says that. It's because they always distinguish between the two different ones. Putin's spokesman, his name is Dmitry Peskov, never says things like that. In fact, last week, when Trump said that Putin was crazy, Peskov said, well, we don't take it personally. Trump, we know, is under tremendous strain and pressure right now, and we appreciate everything he's done to try to reach peace between our countries. Now, why do you say that? Then Medvedev said, we're going to start World War III. They're playing different roles. The guy representing Putin has to say we're above the fray, we're serious diplomats, because that's what the Russian population wants to see. The ones that have to act like clowns, the propagandists, Sobolev and these other people, the drunk former president, Dmitry Medvedev, they're playing their role, which is to be the saber rattlers.
And Medvedev's also, I think he's following the channel or something, because we have never tweeted anything. We didn't start tweeting until like 2 days ago, and suddenly I just saw Medvedev blocked Business Basics on Twitter.
Really? That's amazing.
So he's gonna see this, hopefully. Yeah, no.
I again want to remind everyone this was weeks ago, and on cue, the same thing we talked about is happening right now. Whenever Russia feels like they're losing, they have their attack dogs, they have Russian TV start threatening nuclear war, and they do that directly to the United States. Well, now we have the biggest show in Russia threatening to nuke United States. Listen to it yourself.
Вчера стал ставить нам ультиматумы. Значит, если будет прекращение огня, самое важное...
Yesterday, Trump started to give us ultimatums. If there is a ceasefire, the most important thing, listen to Trump. Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday? There will be consequences. Sanctions? Tariffs? There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences. Yes, there will be very severe consequences. We will destroy all of Ukraine. America wants to impose consequences against us.
Не вправе навязывать волю президенту Российской Федерации, которого...
Like what? If Trump thinks he can dictate to Putin, he is mistaken. No one has the right to impose their will upon the president of the Russian Federation, who was elected by the Russian people. He represents the aspirations and interests of the Russian people. Their aspirations and interests. When Trump suddenly starts to act as though he can give us directives and is threatening us, we can actually destroy America. America can destroy us as well, but we can do it faster and more effectively. Our territory is larger. So far, the only thing the West understands is strength. We have to talk to them through strength. They want to dictate conditions to us through strength? They have no strength. We can destroy all of them with nuclear weapons.
Это силу, поэтому разговаривать с ними надо через силу. Они хотят нам диктовать условия через силу, так вот, у них сил нет. Мы их можем уничтожить всех ядерным оружием.
YouTube just dropped a mind-boggling announcement. It is paying creators $64 million per day. Why? Well, because YouTube doesn't have enough creators. That is why you see videos on your homepage that have less than 1,000 views, like this one right here. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that everyone should start a channel. But if you have ever wondered about starting a YouTube channel or a faceless channel, now is a perfect time. YouTube is paying creators millions of dollars every single day, and it's pushing newer and smaller channels now more than ever. But I'm sure you have many questions on how to start and grow a channel. We get questions in our email all the time from some of you guys. That's why we decided to put all our YouTube advice into one YouTube video for completely free. So, if you're someone interested in starting your own channel, you can watch that video here on YouTube by clicking the link in the description or card on your screen.